So a couple options for how you might want to start class. It's really dependent on what you're feeling in your body today and what you feel like you need. I'm going to go for like the most supported option first, and then I'll kind of show you what you can do if you don't need as much support right now. So first option is tall block, flat block, bolster on the diagonal. And then you scoot your low back way up against the edge. You want to use your hands to walk yourself back. And then you can let your palms face up. You could let your knees knock together. That tends to feel pretty nice for the low back, especially. Other options, if you want less support, but more back bend, this tends to feel better for those who are a little bit earlier in pregnancy, but as with everything, it's individual. That would be a medium block and a tall block. And you back yourself up. Basically, the tips of the shoulder blades or the band of your bra, depending, would be on the medium block, and then tall block underneath the back of the head and arms out to the side. You can do the same thing, knees knocked together or parallel. Doesn't really matter. So totally up to you, however you would like to start your practice. And take a moment, no matter where you are. See if you can allow your eyes to close. Maybe let them soften in the sockets. You might notice if your tongue is up at the roof of your mouth. If it is, see if you could let it fall a little, or you might imagine that as letting your back teeth part slightly. And as you start to deepen your breath, you might just begin to notice on each inhale, making more space around your baby. And on each exhale, softening, relaxing, and releasing. Take a few more long, deep breaths here. Maybe noting in your body any places you're holding extra tension. See if you can imagine on each inhale creating space, and on each exhale softening, relaxing, and releasing. And then allow your breath to come back to its more typical pace, its more natural pace. You can start to wiggle your fingers a little bit, wiggle your toes. On your next inhale, reach your arms long over your head. You can circle your wrists a couple times, maybe articulating through your fingers. You might get those weird little Rice Krispies like I just did. And then on your next exhale, release your arms down by your sides. Whichever side you prefer, go for it, but you're just going to briefly roll toward one side and use your hands to press yourself up. And then you can come to sit on any kind of prop you like, so long as when you sit cross-legged, your hips are a little bit higher than your knees. So if you're noticing that the knees come up a little, you want to give yourself more height, and that could be a blanket, it could be a block, it could be a bolster, it could be, whatever, textbooks. I don't know what you have in your office there, Lindsay, but anything is possible, right? Anything that gives you a seat where the hips are a little bit higher than the knees, that just lets your hip flexors relax a little more. Once you find your sits bones underneath you, root down, rise tall, close your eyes if that feels safe and comfortable, and then bring your hands towards your baby. And if you're at a point in your pregnancy where you kind of know where your baby's spine is, you could give your baby a back rub. You could also rub where you've been feeling any kind of movement, kicks or flutters. If that's still a little bit early for you, just sort of rub in their general direction. They'll still know it's you. But take a second and send your baby a loving intention. And take a moment to acknowledge the work that your baby is doing, the work that your own body is doing, and then the work that you're doing together as a team. And then very, very most importantly, just take a second to remind yourself that no one else in the world gets to know this baby the same way that you do. And you can keep one hand on your baby and bring the other hand to your own heart. And we'll open our practice with a collective and intentional breath. Deep inhale and exhale. And then on your next inhale, blinking your eyes open, coming back into the space around you. And you can let your hands come down to your thighs. I want to offer just a mini theme for today, like teeny tiny little theme. And it was one I was thinking about the other day. A woman I taught for 2 or 3 of her pregnancies was an actress. And I remember in her first pregnancy, the class was talking about a lot of the like anxiety or sort of the fearfulness that comes up in this period of time, right? Especially if this is the first time for you. Lindsay, first baby, second baby, first baby. Yeah. It like, if it's brand new, there's some underlying anxiety or fear about it because it's brand new. You've never done it before, right? And the phrase that she offered, she said it's like a big theater phrase. I didn't know this one, but she said the difference between fear and excitement is breath. And I love that so much in the idea that like, it's not to say that you have to lie to yourself and be like, I don't feel these things, right? I'm not experiencing or feeling fear or anxiety. Like we can be friends with our feelings. We can acknowledge them, but also the idea that we can shift at least some of that energy by saying, what does it feel like when I'm able to take a deep breath? Right? No matter how a baby is coming out of your body, no matter how your birth is going, accessing your breath is always going to be there for you, right? Same in your pregnancy, same in postpartum. So I'm going to cue that and sort of guide that as we move through our practice today. And I think we're just going to kind of go head to toe. We might focus a little bit on hips, kind of on low back today, etc. Yeah. All right. Uncross the legs and recross with your other foot in front, just so that we get a little more balance in the pelvis. Do a little rock from side to side so you feel your sits bones again underneath you, allowing those knees to soften. Take a couple shoulder rolls going front to back. We always go front to back in pregnancy because pregnancy tends to pull the shoulders forward. It increases the curves of our thoracic spine. Bring the fingertips to your shoulder heads and take a couple little chicken wing circles here. Yep. The idea is that the elbows will point all the way behind you. They won't, like that's not possible, but we can visualize, we can imagine. All right, from here, interlace your fingers, flex your palms forward. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, let the shoulders soften. And you can do a little tick-tock from side to side. And then draw a halo over your head with your whole upper body. And the thing in pregnancy that tends to happen is we sort of forget about this back space. Now reverse it. And I want you to notice as you're doing it, if those knees are trying to lift up, because your hip flexors want to help you. And you got to be like, cool it. We're good. I've got this. Press upward and then exhale to go up and over toward your right. Good. Let the shoulders soften a little bit. Exactly. And then flip your top palm up, your left palm, and you're going to take a slow circle all the way around. Yeah, good. Take one more and just notice if there's any spot in that circle that feels so good. If you want to pause there and sort of indulge in it for a second. Notice though, if as you do it, you do the chicken neck where that chin starts to come forward. See if you can drop back a little bit. Yeah. Then bring yourself all the way upright. Keep that left arm nice and high. Drape it over your head. Let both shoulders fall, and then let your head tip to the left. If it feels good to take your right arm straight out to the side, you can flex and point that hand a couple times, which should feel a little weird. This is called nerve flossing. Good. And then you can keep that with the hand, turn your head down, nose to armpit and chin to chest. And again, if the flexing and pointing the hand feels good, you can stay with that. On your next inhale, lift your head up, and then you're going to bring your arms to cactus arms. Your left elbow is going to cross underneath the right. You can bring the backs of the hands together, the palms together, kind of like a double wrap with your wrists. And if neither of those feels good at this point in your pregnancy, just a big old hug. You know, that's nice too. Tops of the shoulders move down, points of the elbows move up. And then if that's feeling amazing and your palms are touching, you might start to kind of move the palms away from your face. That should create a little more space between your shoulder blades. And then we'll do the opposite action, which is to release the hands, bring them behind you, hook your thumbs together like little butterfly hands, gather the shoulders, lengthen through the elbows, lift the heart, lift the armpits, lift the bridge of your nose. And if that feels incredible, pull your thumbs away from one another. But again, check in with your knees. If they're trying to creep up towards your armpits, that's common. Go ahead and release. Good. Shake it out a second. You can do kind of one of these. And then interlace with the other finger and thumb on top. I'm not going to know whether or not you've switched. So like, don't feel guilty if you if it didn't happen. Flex the palms up. Good. Let the shoulders soften. And then again, as you're ready, you can take like a little tick-tocky action from side to side. We're just trying to find mobility in the rib cage, in the upper back. It's one way of accessing the breath more. Now start to draw your halo in the opposite direction that you did the first time, which again, I'm not going to know the difference whether you did or didn't, right? But see what feels less common, right? What feels a little bit awkward, and then reverse it. Good. You know, I really wanted to wear short pants today, and then I spilled coffee all over them. So we're in my like third outfit of the day. Go ahead and press upward. Exhale, go up and over toward the left. My baby started solid, so that's the other thing that kills an outfit every morning. Flip the palm up and then take a couple slow circles. And again, especially on that second round, if it feels good and you want to just indulge where you're getting the most space in the front of your chest, yeah. And then go ahead, as that right arm comes overhead again, allow it to bring you all the way upright. Shoulders soften, let the head tip all the way to the right. Start by looking straight forward and bring that left arm out to the side. And again, a little nerve flossing by flexing and pointing. Good. Getting into the wrist. Yeah. Anyone experiencing any kind of carpal tunnel during pregnancy? Yeah. That's fairly common. This is one way to get into it a little. Nothing I'm going to offer is like a panacea where we're like, guess what? It's going to go away altogether. You know, like I'm not that magic. Go ahead and turn your head down. Nose to armpit, chin to chest. Taking a couple long, deep breaths here. If you want to keep going on that flex and point, go for it. And then on your following inhale, head comes up, arms come back into the cactus arms. This time the right arm tucks underneath the left. You find those eagle arms, Gomukhasana arms. Not Gomukhasana, Garudasana. If that's feeling pretty great, tops of the shoulders move down, points of the elbows move up, and then you can always press the palms a little bit away from your face, kind of forward. Yeah, nicely done. And then when you're ready, release, bring the hands behind you, hook the other thumb on top. Again, I won't know the difference. Don't feel obligated. But there's something nice about finding a little more balance, right? Acknowledging that our sides are different. And go ahead, broaden the collarbones. Again, you can actively pull those thumbs away from one another. And then go ahead and release. You can lean back into your palms, uncross your feet, and set them up wider than hip distance. Lift your toes, and then take a slow windshield wiper from side to side. Nicely done. So we're just starting to find that internal rotation. It's one way to address or get into the low back a little bit and into the hips, obviously. But all right, when you're ready, we're going to come to hands and knees or tabletop position. So as you come to tabletop, it depends on what kind of surface you're on. I like having a blanket underneath me. My knees are old, but you do you, right? Like build up or break down however you need it. If you have some kind of height prop, I'd recommend it. So blocks, trash can, edge of a chair, something. You can put those at the top of your mat. You may or may not use them, but it's always nice to have something accessible, right? I like to be a good Girl Scout and be prepared. When you're ready, I think maybe that's the Boy Scouts motto, but who's really prepared? It's the Girl Scouts, let's be honest, right? Spread the fingers wide, creases of the wrist lined up with the front edge of the mat. Wrists are more or less underneath the wrists, and knees are more or less underneath your hips. We'll start with a little cat-cow. Tuck your toes. Keep the tail reaching back. Inhale, reach your heart and your armpits forward. And then exhale, untuck your toes. Press into the tops of the feet. Round your spine. You can look toward your navel or your belly, and then start to rock your tail back towards your heels. And we're going to repeat that a couple times on your own breath, your own timing. Again, as you come forward, tucking the toes, opening the chest, but reaching the tail back, not up. Exhale, pressing into the shoelace side of your feet, rounding the spine and rocking back. And a few more times on your own breath, your own timing. If there's a place in that sequence that you would prefer to indulge, give yourself that time. But what I want you to notice in relation, especially to our theme, is this connection between breath and movement here, right? By practicing this, getting it into our muscle memory a little bit more, it may be something that's a little more accessible when you're in labor. But just that idea of being aware of your breath leading you as opposed to trying to catch up, that's something that's going to be useful no matter what. Good. The next time you come up to regular old hands and knees, pause there for a moment and then take a second to flip your wrists. You can turn your fingertips back. If this is like way too much, you're like, Caprice, you are bananas. This is not happening. Do one hand at a time, or you can just turn them as much as you like, right? No matter where you are, see if you can lift up and out of the chest a little bit, right? It gets really tempting, especially in pregnancy, to kind of sit in the shoulders, in that shoulder girdle. See if you can lift yourself up and out. And then flip your palms back to the front again. Find that support in your shoulders and then lengthen your right leg behind you. Ball of the foot stays on the floor and you're just pressing back a little bit as you look a little bit forward. So we're just kind of waking up the calf. And then go ahead and switch. Left leg comes behind you. Again, noticing your breath. And bring your left knee in, bring the big toes together, your knees as wide as you need to for your belly. That's really dependent on how you carry. And then sit your bum back. We're coming into a child's pose. If it feels great to put your head on the floor, cool, great, awesome. If it doesn't, either from nausea or from stuffiness, you can always put a block or some kind of prop underneath the forehead, right? No matter where you are, imagine sending the breath into your back ribs. So each time you inhale, feel an expansion in your back body and a relaxation on each exhale. And last thing I want to offer here is a little thread the needle. You'll keep your right arm long And then on your following exhale, thread your left arm underneath your right armpit. And you can either remain with the forehead down or you can turn to look towards the right. If that feels awesome, tent your right fingertips. So you're lifting the palm, but you're kind of on the tips of the fingers. And you might rotate that right shoulder, right ribs a little more towards the sky. If that feels a bit awkward with your belly, you can always lift the bum up a little bit more. Inhale to unthread that left arm, and exhale, thread the right arm underneath the left. And again, if that feels pretty awesome and you want to tent your left fingertips, go for it. On your next inhale, unthread that right arm. You can press into both of your palms. As you press into your palms from this child's pose, imagine that you could slide your mat back to you. You're not going to, but that's the visual here. In order to slide your shoulder blades kind of down your spine, then lift the chest a bit off of the floor, tuck your toes, and we're going to move towards downward facing dog. So heels will stay high. Knees will stay soft, and you're going to lift your tail up and behind you. If it feels good to kind of like pedal through your feet a little bit, go for it. You can kind of do a little like cha-cha if that feels good. And then when you're ready, again, lift your heels, bend your knees, and then push your hands forward to pull your tail up and back. Yeah, if the spine can remain long, and for all three of you it is, go ahead, that's on screen and in person. You can start to lengthen a little bit more in your legs. Yeah, if you notice that as you lengthen the legs, your tail starts to tuck under you or your spine starts to round, then you want to find that softness again. Nicely done. On your next inhale, return to hands and knees. And then if you need a height prop, we're going to come to a forward fold. So you might start by using blocks and see how it feels. You can always readjust. I like them on the tall level, even when I'm not pregnant. You can step your favorite foot in between your blocks or your hands, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, bend your back knee, step it up toward the front, and then organize your feet behind your hands or your blocks. Make sure that they're belly width or baby width apart. And that way, on your next exhale, you can soften your knees and release your head and chest. On your next inhale, press into your blocks or hands or shins. Reach your chest forward, long spine. Exhale, soften the knees, release the head and chest. Humor me. We're going to go for a little weird breath. Inhale, long spine, flat back. This time as we fold forward, you're going to flutter your lips like little horse lips. You're going to go. Good. On your next inhale, find that flat back again. This time, bend your knees considerably. Bring your hands to your thighs. You're in this weird, awkward, squatty thing. Exhale, press into your thighs. Little hug of your belly, little lift of your pelvic floor as you come all the way up. Sorry that you can't see my head, but I think it's going to be fine. Okay. Standing tall, spread the toes nice and wide, ground into the four corners of each foot, lift your arches, and then roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Pause here for a moment and bring your hands to heart center. If it feels great, amazing, safe to close your eyes, go ahead and close them. And then take a moment to recall that loving intention that you sent to your baby at the very beginning of class. See if connecting to your breath now as you reconsider or remember that loving intention is another way to lean into the excitement and out of the fear. On your next inhale, blink your eyes open and you can reach your arms up and overhead. On an exhale, little hug of your belly, little softness in the knees, long spine, open chest as you find your way again back towards a flat back, and then soften the knees, release the head and chest, forward fold. Again, inhale, pressing into the palms, long spine, flat back. Step your right foot between your blocks or your hands a little more to the right. Step your left foot all the way back. I like to step behind my blanket, so I've got a little extra support there. Actively draw your outer right hip back, reach the chest forward, reach your left heel back, and as you reach your left heel back, lower that back knee down, untuck your back toes, hug your outer hips to the midline, and come all the way up. You can do this fun, like hands on hips thing. Lift the pubic bone up, dropping your tailbone down. And if it feels good to like find those bony landmarks and do the support together, you can. Once you've found that pubic bone up, tailbone down, hands can come to your front thigh. And then if this feels great, move your pelvis forward in space another inch without losing that pubic bone up, tailbone down. With the hands on the front thigh, press your hands to the thigh, lift the chest, and then you can lower your chin towards your chest to get a little more into your psoas or your hip flexor, which actually plays a pretty big role in your breath because your hip flexor, your psoas, connects at the same place as your respiratory diaphragm. So if it's super tight, it can sort of impede the ability of the diaphragm to really expand. On your next exhale, release your hands down to blocks or floor or whatever feels good. Scoot your hands or your blocks back, and then shift your hips back, lift your tail, lift your toes, lift your heart. Pinky toe comes back as much as the big toe. And then from here, we're going to kind of undulate the spine. I wish I had a better term for that, but on an inhale, you're going to reach the chest forward. On an exhale, little fold over your belly, kind of as much as your belly is going to let you. Inhale, reach the chest forward. Notice that that front foot is still active. Exhale, little fold. Last time, inhale, reaching the chest forward. This time, exhale, plant the foot. As you rebend your knee, lift the chest, lift the pubic bone. And then this time, inhale, shift back. Take your front leg, and as long as you're not having any pubic bone pain these days, heel toe your right foot more to the left. So you're crossing it in front of the body. Bring that pinky toe back towards the outside of your right knee. Slide your right hip back in space, and then see if you can rotate the right leg. It should be getting into your outer right hip and along that whole right side. Lindsay, I can tell you feel that. How are you guys doing? Yeah. So this is a point, right, where you don't have to lie to yourself and be like, I'm not experiencing, discomfort in my brain. I'm not right? You don't have to lie, but you can say the difference between fear and excitement is breath, right? My ability to find something sustainable is probably dependent on my breath. Go ahead and walk your right foot back to the right. Bring your right knee down to join the left knee. You're going to put your forearms on your blocks or on the floor. You can also do hands on the floor. It doesn't really matter. And wag your tail from side to side. Then paint some circles with your tailbone. Nicely done. And then allow your tail to be loose enough that you could write your name in the loopiest possible cursive that you have, which I know sounds truly, truly bananas, but there's always a method to my madness. And it is that there are a lot of ligaments and a lot of muscles connected to your tailbone. From here, when you're ready, your choice. You could head back to a downward facing dog if that felt amazing before, or you could go back to a child's pose. What do you need for your body today, right? Knowing that every day is a little bit different, right? Especially in a pregnancy. And what you need might be really different from anybody else. With that said, it's always good for me to take a pulse on what's happening, and everyone has chosen child's pose. So that tells me something about maybe what we need for practice today. Good. On your following inhale, come back up to hands and knees, and then find your props. And we're going to take the left side of that sequence. So if you need support underneath your hands, find the support. This time, step your left foot forward. And that left foot should be a little closer to the left hand than the center. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, press back through the heel, and then lower the back knee down. Untuck the back toes. I know it seems a little silly to repeat it, but that just gives you a little more length in that hip flexor. Walk it all the way up. Again, think about your outer hips drawing in toward the midline. Pubic bone lifts up, tailbone draws down. Hands can return to that front thigh. And if it feels great, you want to go further, you shift the pelvis forward in space without losing that connection of the pubic bone and tailbone. If you want to go a little further, press your hands into your front thigh, lifting your chest, lower your chin, and taking a few long, deep breaths here. Getting into that hip flexor on the opposite side. On your following exhale, release your hands down to your props or the floor. Walk them back so that they're behind the heel, but under your shoulders. And then lift the tail, lift the toes, lift the heart. Inhale to lengthen through the spine. Exhale, funky little fold forward as much as the belly is going to let you. Good. Inhale. Find the extension. Exhale, little fold. Last time, inhale to extend. Exhale, plant the foot, rebend the knee, lift the pubic bone up, lift the chest. And then this time, shift your hips back. We're going to get into the outer hip by crawling that left foot over to the right. Lift all 5 toes, actively pull your left hip back, pinky toe towards the outside of your left knee, and then see if you can rotate the leg like a ballerina turning into first position. Observe the difference from side to side. Go the other way, Chelsea, with the toes. Yeah. And then notice where you might be holding tension that's not useful to the task at hand. So for myself, I'm noticing my elbows are like super locked out and my shoulders are lifting up. I don't have to force them down, but I could try and find a little softness and see if that's useful for me, especially in sustainability, right? Whether it's pregnancy or birth or postpartum itself, the question you can always ask yourself is this sustainable? Right? And if it's not, what are the choices or alterations I can make that will allow this to be sustainable? Walk your left foot over to the left, and we're going to come back to forward fold. You can scoot your blocks or your hands forward, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, bend your back knee, step it up towards the front. Again, organize your hands or your feet behind your hands or your blocks. From here, heel toe your feet about as wide as the mat. If you're quite tall, go a little bit wider. We're going to do a little baby skandasana or like pregnancy skandasana. Bend your right knee and flex and turn out your left foot. And then switch. Plant the left foot, bend the left knee, flex and turn out the right. And then you're just toggling between the sides and you get to decide how long you spend in one side or the other. What feels appropriate. But finding that length in your adductors, your inner thigh muscles. When you're ready, find stillness and then heel toe your feet back into belly width or baby width apart. Inhale to bend your knees, hands to thighs. Exhale, little hug of your baby, little lift of your pelvic floor. Long spine brings you all the way up. Yeah, nicely done. Again, spread the toes wide, ground into the 4 corners, lift your arches. Notice if it's hard to see in my pants, but if you tend to lock back in your knees, find a little breath behind them so that you can find that support. Head stacked over your heart, stacked over the pelvis, the belly stacked over the pelvis, stacked over your feet. And again, roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Bring your hands to heart center if you feel steady and safe, closing your eyes. And again, recalling that loving intention that you sent to your baby at the beginning of class. On your next inhale, blinking your eyes open, you can reach your palms skyward. This time, you can either do a long spine, kind of a swan dive down, or if you need more support, hands can keep going to the thighs and to the blocks or the floor. As you lengthen through the spine, on your following exhale, big sigh as you fold forward. Inhale. Long spine, flat back. This time, exhale, step your right foot between the blocks or your hands a little more to the right. Step the left foot behind you. We're going to straighten and bend 3 times. Exhale to lengthen through the front leg. Draw your outer right hip back. Inhale, rebend, reach your chest forward, reach your back heel back. Again, exhale to lengthen. Inhale. Rebend, keep that back leg really active. Beautiful. Last time, exhale to lengthen. Inhale, rebend. We're going to come from this lunge to a warrior 1. I need to move my blanket to be able to do that. You're going to take your back foot, step it up and to the left. So you have a wider base and a little bit shorter than you did before. Left toes are facing the top left corner. Hug your outer hips to the midline again as you come all the way up. So my back heel is actively pressing down into the ground, and I'm actively lifting my back arch. Lift the pubic bone up and the tailbone down. And then if you can, maybe bend that front knee like a teeny tiny little bit deeper. Bring both arms up and overhead if that's feeling sustainable. If this is feeling pretty decent, we're going to go through a little bit of a flow. Inhale to straighten through the front leg. Keep that pubic bone lifting up. Exhale as you rebend your front knee. Slide your arms down. Yeah, feeling resistance. Yes. Inhale and exhale. Last time, inhale. Nice. Exhale. This time, arms can stay in this little W. Inhale to lift your chest. And then exhale, hands come down to the floor or your props. From here, it's getting choreography and it's going to get exciting. We're going to turn to the left to take a wide-legged forward fold. So you're going to crawl your hands or your blocks over to the left and rotate both feet so they're facing the left edge of your mat. Now, when I do that, my feet are not on the same line. Yeah, and everyone here has already readjusted, but just make sure that your feet are on the same plank or balance beam or whatever. If this is feeling pretty awesome, bend your knees. They don't have to bend deeply, but like a little softness. Rotate your legs inward. So if you had skis, they'd be clanking together in the front. Lift your sits bones and then walk your hands or your blocks forward. So there's almost no weight in your hands and all the weight is moving up and back. Yeah, Chelsea, can I touch your body? All I'm gonna do is like shimmy you that way. Does that feel decent on the backs of the legs? Cool. Great. Nicely done. When you're ready, walk your hands or your props back in, and then you have to take a field trip to the back or to the front of your mat, to the back of the front of your mat. Have I confused everyone? You're going back to where you were before. Lower your back knee and bring your front knee down to join the back knee. From here, choose your own adventure. You could return to child's pose. You could return to down dog. Or secret third option that's not a secret at all. It just sounds fun to say that. You can put the block between your inner thighs, shift your hips forward, but make sure that it doesn't drop, right? You're still really supported here. A little hug of your baby. Elbows are glued in by your sides. It's a little half chaturanga. Yeah, and you can do a little rock back. No choice is better than another. It's just, what do I need for my body today? Yeah. And again, no matter where you are, can you check in with your breath? Can you observe whether that breath could have a little more ease or a little more length? And as you're ready, come back up to your hands and knees. I'm turning myself this way so that when we turn the opposite way, Lindsay doesn't have to stare at my tuchus. Oh, I guess she does this way. So what does it matter? I'm just going to keep facing this direction. It's fine. Hey, step your left foot in between the blocks a little more to the left side. Tuck your back toes, lift the back knee. Again, we're going to do 3 of that straight and bend. Exhale to lengthen through the front leg. Draw your outer left hip back. Inhale, rebend the front knee, reach the chest forward, but make sure that your back heel is still reaching. Exhale to lengthen. Nicely done. Inhale, rebend. Good. Last time. Exhale to lengthen. And inhale, rebend. Keep that front knee bent. Step your right foot to the right and forward. So again, it's wider and shorter. Back toes are facing the top right corner of your mat. Hug your outer hips to the midline as you come all the way up, pressing into your right heel, lifting your right arch, pubic bone up, tailbone down, bending that front knee a little deeper if you've got the space or you want to. And then arms again can go up and overhead. Inhale to lengthen through the front leg. Exhale as you rebend, slide the elbows down, feeling resistance. Yeah, and that way we're just getting upper back work in at the same time. Exhale, sliding down. Again, inhale and exhale. This time pausing here, lift your chest and exhale. Hands come down. This time you're walking your blocks over to the right. Very good. Pausing first to look down and make sure that your feet are parallel. Then I actually think go a little bit wider, both of you. Lindsay, I think you're at a good distance. Yeah. Bend the knees a little bit and then rotate the legs inward. Soften the knees a little more, lift the sits bones, or the tailbone is another way to think about that. And then walk your hands or your blocks forward and drop the chest. This is one way to basically get into the entire posterior chain. So we're finding space in the backs of the legs. We're finding space in the pelvic floor. We're finding space along the whole spine, maybe in your chest. Another thing that we're ideally finding here too is a little more equanimity in the uterine ligaments, because the uterus is kind of being lifted away from the pelvis. It's a chance for those ligaments to find a little more balance. When you're ready, you're going to walk yourself back to the front of your mat, which I have to reorganize. And then as you find your way into that left side lunge, bend your back knee and step it up to join the front. Again, reorganize your feet. We're going to take a little mini twist here. Heel toe your feet about as wide as the mat. And then if you've got a prop or your hand on the floor or hand on a, whatever prop, left hand stays on that prop. Right hand comes to your right hip. Bend your left knee and then keep your belly facing the floor and rotate your right shoulder open. So again, belly stays looking at the floor. Yes, nicely done. Sits bones are still reaching towards the back. Exhale to release. Lengthen through both legs and then bend your right knee. Left hand comes to your low back or your left hip. Belly stays looking at the floor and you rotate that left shoulder open. Good. Melanie, bring the back of your head back a little bit. Yeah, that's all. Good. Keep reaching through the crown of your head. And you might feel this in the upper chest. You might also feel it in like your calf or the outside of that left leg. Go ahead, release. You can heel toe your feet back into more like a belly width or, baby width apart. Bend both knees, bring your hands to your thighs. And we're gonna do a little cat-cow here. Inhale to open the chest. Exhale, round your spine. Inhale to open. Exhale to round. Again, inhale to open. Exhale to round. And you're gonna come all the way up to stand. How are we doing? Good. Lindsay? So far, so good. Yeah. All right. I want to make sure that we get plenty in the hips. And also it seems like you guys want a little more chill, grounded. Yeah. For some of us, it's our lunch break. For some of us, we're going to go home and have lunch. So keeping it chill. we're gonna come down and do a little pigeon pose, okay? Some of you are going to need more support than others. I'm going to show it with the blanket, but you can always try it later with the block, or sorry, with the bolster. So let's come down just into a hands and knees. Pause for a second. Give yourself one last opportunity to like find a long spine, maybe close your eyes, and just again, recalling that loving intention that you sent to your baby at the very beginning. When you're ready, inhale to blink your eyes open if you want to stretch your arms towards the sky. And then exhale, mindfully find your way towards the hands and knees. You can utilize hands on the floor, hands on blocks, lowering your knees down. So what I'm going to do is more height underneath my knees. And I'm putting both of my knees here. I'll show another option if you don't feel like you have the props to be able to do, or if pigeon just doesn't feel comfortable for whatever reason, knees, hips, etc. But option one is pigeon. Knees are on the blanket or the bolster or whatever. I bring my right shin forward, and then I tuck my back toes, I lift my back knee, and I slide that leg back so that my pelvis has support with that blanket. And if you're like, I don't know, you can add another blanket, you can take a bolster, you can walk it down, right? Or I could walk it, maybe even all the way down to the floor and put a block under my forehead. If you're like, none of these things feel great, Caprice, I don't like any of these options, you can always do ankle to knee like this. Yeah. So this is a choice. Lots of folks like to take this, especially mid to late third trimester, if the belly feels like it's in the way, or if it's just a better option. Regardless of where you are, see if you can, again, focus on your breath. You don't have to be forcing it in any way. But again, you're noticing, can I allow for a long inhale? Can I allow for a long exhale? Where am I holding tension? And where is it not helpful for the task at hand? And then when you're ready, from your pigeon pose, you're going to walk your hands up, sit towards your right hip, and then bring your left leg around. You're not crossing the legs, but you are going to cross the ankles. So your left knee is up and your right knee is still hanging out down on the ground. That could feel a little awkward for your bum. So try and let the left hip invite it towards the floor, but know that it may or may not accept the invitation, which is fine, right? From here, we're going to take an open twist. So your left elbow comes to the inside of your left knee. You could also hold your belly with that left arm if you like. And then right fingertips come behind you. Belly is going to more or less stay forward, but you're going to open up the right shoulder. This is the prenatal version of Matsyasana or Ardha Matsyendrasana. And then on your next exhale, release. And then we're going to take the Caprice cheater version to get to the left side of pigeon, which means we sit to the left hip and put the left shin in front, and you slide the right leg behind you. The awkward thing here is that you can get stuck in what I call 8th grade cheerleader if you don't make adjustments. So nothing against 8th grade cheerleaders, but you're going to shift yourself forward, right? And make sure that you're on the top of your right knee, top, like the shoelace side of the foot. Find the adjustments here. I know that for myself, this hip is much tighter, so I need more height for my own body on this side. And then again, walk it down as it feels useful or comfortable to you. Melanie, if you like a block under the forehead, this is a great space for it. If you're like, I don't know, that weirds me out, don't feel like you have to take it. Yeah, nicely done. Chelsea, see if you can pull that left hip back just a little. That's all. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Good, 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 good. Yeah, nice. Lindsay, your spine looks great here. Again, just as we did before, noticing, not forcing, but observing the breath. Noting how you can make your own breath more sustainable. Good. And in our last few moments here, again, notice where you can let go of tension, where it's not useful to the task at hand. When you're ready, again, you can walk it all the way up. We're going to come into that twist. So you'll lean towards your left hip, bring the right leg around. You cross the ankles. Again, the right knee is pointing up. The left leg is falling open. You're inviting the right bum down, knowing that it may or may not accept the invitation, trying to find as much length in the spine as you can. Right elbow to the inside of the right knee. And you can have them have a little symbiotic relationship, elbow to knee, knee to elbow, left fingertips behind you. They kind of tent on the floor as you inhale to open the chest. Yeah, nicely done. Keep growing tall through the crown of the head. And then on your next exhale, release. We're going to finish up our practice with a restorative pose on both sides. This is particularly to get into the side body, but it's also to get into your hip flexor. And I'll kind of give stages of like variations within it to go a little bit further if you want to, a little bit further if you want to. The setup is not going to be exactly the same for everybody because it's sort of dependent on the length of your waist, essentially. Lindsay, you might end up using like the sweatshirt that you just took off. If you don't have a blanket around you, that's what I would try. Or if you have like a bag or a purse that's not like too crunchy, for lack of a better term, you're just going to hack it how it works best for you. So what I'm going to show you, the bolsters tend to be a bit too high unless you're like a Radio City Rockette, which like I've taught them before, like 7 feet tall. They're so tall. And you're like, yes, you do need the most amount of length under your waist as you possibly can. But for a lot of us, this blanket, right, folded basically in this way is going to be plenty. I'll show first before we all get into it so that you kind of know where we're going. But essentially, I want a little something for my head as like a little, pillow. And I want something for one hand to touch. This is going under my waist, and then I have a little valley to put my shoulder and my arm in. So I'm doing my right side first on the ground so that we finish on the left side, which tends to be best for encouraging babies towards their most optimal fetal position, which is really not a big deal for anyone in this class right now. But the later you get, the more important it is. And we're setting an intention. So I'm lying on my whole right side. I have support under my ribs here. If I needed more, I could roll this again, or I could add a second blanket, right? I could make this a little higher. Then my head is supported, and I've put this block way too close, but I'm going to stretch this arm. Yeah. So I'm on my right side on the ground. Both my knees are bent. My right thigh is up against the edge of my prop. Yeah. And then my left arm stretches long over me. And I'm just going to hold this position so everyone can like reference it as they're finding their way. And so feel it out. If it feels like this doesn't, right? The question is always, is this sustainable for me? And if the answer is no, it's not sustainable, then you probably need more height underneath your waist, Yeah. Good. Wherever you are, can you give me like a funny thumbs up if this is feeling decent? Okay, cool. Great. Yeah, great. Fantastic. Okay. So taking the moment here just to extend the breath into your left ribs. Each time you inhale, visualize those ribs expanding. And again, you can come back to that idea of as I inhale, I make space around my baby. As I exhale, I soften around my baby. And if you'd like to take this a little further, all you're going to do, nothing else changes, but you extend your left leg long. So the left leg, the top leg stretches towards the bottom of the mat. And now you have an even longer line along the left side of your body. If this is feeling particularly great and you'd like to take it even a little further, you can take your left leg, top leg, and bring it behind you super straight, an inch or two, and then think about letting your top hip or really your belly roll a little more forward. And that's going to get a bit more into your hip flexor on that left side. Let's take 2 more long, deep breaths here. On your next exhale, slide your left knee in. Slide your left hand down so it's on the ground in front of your face. It seems awkward, but the way to transition to the other side is actually through hands and knees. So you'll press into your left palm, uncross so that both hands are on the ground. Hug your baby as you come to a hands and knees. And if it feels good to like circle a couple times or kind of rock forward back or cat and cow. And again, it seems a bit awkward, but if you're struggling these days with rolling over in bed at night, moving through hands and knees, it seems like, oh, that is a lot of work. But for a lot of folks, that can feel better on the pelvis and on the back than just rolling onto your back and then onto the other side. All right, this time bringing your left hip up against your prop, left thigh up against the prop. The valley is still there. You extend that left arm and then rest the head and reach the arm long. And again, I'll just pause here so that you can find the setup. And again, you may find that it feels pretty different from side to side. Again, breathing into your right ribs. Each time you inhale, finding that expansion. Each time you exhale, finding the relaxation. If this is feeling pretty great and you want to go a little further, extend your right leg towards the base of the mat. And taking that right leg behind you, maybe a little bit further, allowing your top hip to roll forward. As you're ready, slide your right leg in, slide your right palm down, and we're going to transition from here into a seated position. So we're coming up to close our practice. As you find a seated position that feels useful, comfortable, sustainable for you, maybe that includes a prop, maybe it doesn't. As you find your sits bones underneath you, and again, if you're able to let your eyes close, softening in the sockets, you can bring your hands again back towards your baby, maybe giving your baby a back rub or rubbing where you felt movement or sensing they're spending time. Recalling one last time the loving intention that you sent throughout your class today. Again, acknowledging the work that they're doing, the work that you're doing, and the work you're doing together as a team. And keep one hand on your baby and bring the other hand to your own heart. And we'll close our practice with a collective and intentional breath. Deep inhale and exhale. On your next inhale, blinking your eyes open, coming back into this space. And I'll just say thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. So remember that the difference between fear and excitement is breath. And I think we can carry that on with us into the weekend. So, all right.